What if I told you that after all the racial divide in this country, all the finger pointing, all the anguish, all the separation of class and culture, that President Trump's approval ratings with the black community is still on pace to get him reelected, and it's not even close? Hi, my name is Kyle and welcome to my channel, and this is The Conservative Take. In this video, we're going to go over some polling numbers and some scenarios. Back in November of 2019, I did a similar video. What if President Trump got 34% of the black vote? I'll leave a link in the description, or you can click right here above me right now to see that. It's important for that video because I do get into some spreadsheets and some numbers that I'm going to not kind of talk about as much, but I am going to reference those spreadsheets just like I did back then. I'm not going to really explain to you how I got there. Check that video and I'll explain how I get those numbers. And you can also access those by going to my website at theconservativetake.com or our Discord server. Joining up is free. It's fast. Click in the link below in the description. It'll lay it out there for you and how to do that. So with that being said, I'm going to take these numbers between the black vote and the Hispanic vote. I'm going to isolate it in a vacuum, in a silo more or less, and see what would it take for either one of those categories of people to move up and down, and how would that affect the election by state. Okay, so what we're going to do, again, watch that video and you'll see the concept behind that, but I will give a brief overview of how I'm getting there. And if you like what we do here at The Conservative Take, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future content. And please share with your friends as we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dig into this. So again, going back to that video again, if you want to take a look at that and look to see how I came up with this, just a quick rundown. Essentially what I've done here is I have two tabs to look at. This first tab here is the actual results of 2016 by state sorted by winner. So in this column here, we have, this is Hillary Clinton. These are all the states that she won. Okay. And of course, at the bottom is all states that Trump won. Here's the margins and some other things too. I'll talk about some other columns here, but the key columns to worry about here are the black vote column here, the Hispanic vote column here, and the new Trump total column here. Okay. So we're going to add those together based on census data, which is the second tab. This tab here takes census data from that year. And what it did is it took all that information, it computes it against our expectation that we can feed into it in terms of what we're expecting in terms of our percentages for black and Hispanic. I will show you that in a second. And then it takes that and feeds it back into the spreadsheet to give us our numbers for new Trump voters based on black or Hispanic. So really quickly here, we'll come down to the bottom. I will show you that. So here you see in gray here, this is the 2016 actual total of what Trump got for Hispanic and black vote. He got 8% of the black vote in 2016, and he got 28% of the Hispanic vote in 2016. So if you see here, we're projecting, just for this example, if nothing else changed, we can expect to see the same results. You see here, there's zeros across the board here, which means there's no difference between the Hispanic vote and the black vote because there's no difference. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull some numbers in and I'm going to see what it would look like if Trump would get some additional votes. But before I do that, let's just show you what would happen if he actually lost some votes, if he lost some percentages, because I think it's important to understand what our threshold is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and say, let's say he only gets 5% in 2015. Let's say that he only gets 5% in 2020, okay, of the black vote. And let's say he does really bad with the Hispanic vote and he only gets, let's say he only gets 24% of the Hispanic vote. Okay. Now, what's that going to look like on the election? So everything in green here in this column here, this is what he's going to win outright. All right. Now we see here, there's a flip here. So we see Michigan would have fallen for Biden in this case. And so with that, we see that he loses Michigan. So if we look at our map here, he would still win the Electoral College vote by 290. All All right, that's okay. Let's go back and take a look at it. Let's see if we change it one more thing. So let's come in and change that to 20% for the Hispanic vote and see where we get now. So now he's really doing horribly. He's 8 points down from where he was in 2016, and he's down 3 points down from where he was in 2016 for the black vote. And now we're seeing he's losing states left and right. He lost Florida and he lost Michigan. So really, realistically speaking, this would be Trump's nightmare. If he were to get only 5% of the black vote and 20% of the Hispanic vote, he would lose Florida and Michigan, and that would be a disaster because there's no scenario that I have right now based on the last election where he can win from losing both of those states. Okay, so that's our baseline, but that's not going to happen realistically speaking, considering how the Hispanic vote right now is looking around 40% up to 44% in May for Hispanics. And like I said, it was 41% for blacks in just a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to talk about that number in just a little bit. So now let's go to what I think could happen with the electoral college vote if we max everything out. So we know, realistically speaking, he's not going to get 44% of the Hispanic vote. That poll came out back in May. It was the Hill, and he was 44% there, but we're going to put that in anyway, okay? And we know he's not going to get 41% of the black vote, which is the highest I've seen so far. But let's say he gets that, okay? So now we have 41% black vote, 44% Hispanic vote. Is that going to flip any states? As we see, it doesn't. No states are flipped at all in there because the margins are still I'm sorry, he will flip Nevada. In that case, he will flip Nevada, but that's, again, a very unlikely scenario. He'll win it by about 14,000 votes, but that probably won't happen. But then that will be, he would have the majority of the popular vote as well. But this is probably the best case scenario based on the numbers. But let's just dumb this down and let's be realistic, okay? So let's just say in 2016, we know he got 28. All right, let's put it back to where it was. And we know in 2016, he got 8% of the black vote. Now let's do this. Let's take that low end of 8% and let's marry it with the high end of 41% and cut it in half. That would give you 24% of the black vote. That's fairly realistic. Could happen. It's a big deal from 2016, but you never know. And let's say we take the 28%, add that to the high end of 44%, and we cut that in half, and that will give you 36% as a baseline. Now here, there are no states that are flipped. Nevada stays blue, but he keeps Florida and Michigan, which is important, and everything else. His lead is increased everywhere else, and most importantly, he actually wins the popular vote. So this here would be the threshold that the Trump campaign would want to see: 24 for black vote, 36% for Hispanic vote. That would give him the popular vote just in and of itself. Again, I'm not talking about the monster vote. I'm not talking about independent votes at all. Just to let you know that the difference between an election with the minority vote rests really in 3 or 4 states, and that's it. But they're important states: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Okay, so now the last scenario I want to show you is what I think will be the actual vote, or what I think is realistic for what we can expect in 2020. I think Trump will get this. Let's go back to 8% before. Let's go back to 28% before for Hispanics. I think very strongly that Trump will get double digits in the black vote. At a low end, I think he gets 10. That's saying him getting 10% based on the polling we've seen is a no-brainer. He was as high as 42% for just black men. So 10% is absolutely a no-brainer in this situation whatsoever. And remember, he's got a threshold from 10% all the way down to 7%, even 6%, where he can win without having the full 8%. So 10% there, and let's say he only gets 2% more for Latinos. That's 30%. And that is still a decent number. And Republicans get above 30% all the time with Latinos. Bush got way above that. So we're just going to lowball both these numbers. And what do we have here? We'll see he'll still lose the popular vote by about 2 million, but he will carry everything he carried before. There will be no change whatsoever. And the electoral college map will look just like it did last time. Okay. Now, I don't expect this to happen. I think other things will happen in the play. I think Georgia may be tricky if he gets against a person that's going to be. I think Georgia could be dangerous if Biden picks the right candidate, but he won by a good margin in Georgia, so I don't see him flipping that either. I don't see any states really flipping here based on what I'm seeing, based on just racial makeup. But in 2024, we could be seeing a lot different things. Now, I know what you're saying, Kyle. That's just you just making stuff up. Are there any real numbers to say that? Because so much stuff has been going on in the news that certainly Trump's going to lose the black support now. He could be at 2% for all we know. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because right now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some polling numbers from Rasmussen. These are likely voter numbers, way more accurate than registered voting numbers. It's night and day, essentially. And this poll is a very accurate poll. It's been very accurate for the past 8 or 9 election cycles. And so they have a good track record. So let's take a look at the approval ratings for Trump after all this stuff started breaking out. What it looks like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. How did it look? Remember, the week prior to that, Trump's approval rating for African Americans, for black people, was 41%. So right now we see now the total approval for the job of the president was doing was 36% on Monday. It was down 5 points roughly from the following week. So then we see on Tuesday, it went down another 3% as things start heating up, all this bad stuff going on around the news, and it wasn't a good week for Trump in terms of his press. So then we see on Wednesday, it went to 30%, down 6% from Monday, and then it took a little quick bounce up on Thursday to 32%, and then another bounce down to 31% on Friday. And I know people are saying, well, Kyle, these votes can't translate to voters, and I agree. Just because you approve of something doesn't mean you're going to get out of your bed in the morning and go vote for that person. However, that being said, and everything else being considered, there's another poll that was in this. Not only is it just approval, but it's strongly approved. And right here, I'm going to take this way, and let's take a look at this. Now we're looking at people who strongly approve, Black Americans who strongly approve of the president's performance. Now we're looking at on Monday, 17%, 16% on Tuesday, a dip on Wednesday. That's a big dip. I'm not sure what happened on that day, but both polls went down. But then look on Thursday, we see a dip up to 5% for strongly approve of the president on Thursday. And then up again, 2 more points on Friday. So people who are strongly approving the president took the same trending as the just approve, but they didn't go down on Friday. They actually went up. And if you look at these numbers, on Monday, they actually went up 3 points where they were versus the going down 5 points on Monday for just approving. So what's going on here? I think it's the black male vote. I think it's the black conservative vote. It's the vote that's not going to move for Trump at all. Once you go to the conservative side and you see the light, you're not going back to be a leftist, man. It doesn't happen that way. So these numbers are going to stay pretty solid across the board. And at 16%, 13%, 18%, I'll take any one of those, because as you see before, we had it at 10%. That's good enough to do it. So ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you right now that if you isolate the Hispanic vote and the black vote on this election, based on right now, we're looking at, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever with Trump's reelection. In fact, it's going to help it because his numbers are higher than last time. With all this going on, it's really incredible. And I'm going to do another video outside of those two categories, the months to vote, independents, blue dogs, all of this at some point. But I thought this would be encouraging for people who are looking at stuff and thinking that the black vote is going one way. It's actually not. And see, this is why we can say that the Democrats need 95% of the black vote to win. This is why. This is exactly why. And so now you can understand, when you watch TV now, why everything's got to be so much about race? If they want to win the election, they have to get the black vote down to about 5% to have a shot. But even with that, they still have to get the Hispanic vote down to about 21% to have a shot in combination. It's really, really interesting. So we'll see what happens going forward, what kind of things that they try and do. But right now, the map's going to look similar to this in 2020, give or take a few states. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any future content. And please share with your friends as we're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers. And with that, please check out some content that we have right